Hello, friends. Just getting my water ready. We will have no shenanigans today from Roman. So that's exciting. Okay. Just getting my colors out here. Pulling up my pattern. Okay, so we are gonna use these two today. I don't have a needle minder over here. Okay, so let's finish up with satin stitch here, and then we will move on to some chain stitch. Let me move this a little closer to me. Okay, so we're gonna start with DMC 647 and do these rocks first. So if you have a printed pattern, these rocks are already drawn for you. But if you want to make them bigger, you can. We're gonna cover the whole thing. So if they are a little too small, then feel free to make them a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're just gonna use 4 strands or 3 if you want, 3 or 4, somewhere in there. I'm gonna use 4. So I've got that divided, and I'll just pull those apart. Get my needle threaded, and then we will get stitching. So when I am doing stones, I try to do the direction of the stitches different ways so that they stand out from each other. So like we're gonna go this way, and nope, we're gonna go this way on this one. And then go this way, that way. Do you see how we can kind of change the direction of those? Hi, Jana. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. So we're just gonna stay in our little spaces and just do some more satin stitch. We're just gonna go to the edge of our little rock there, and then back to this side. Keeping these nice and close, we can fill in all that space, and just staying on our lines so we don't have any gaps in our stitches. I usually like to kind of have an idea of what direction, so that I don't have like a horizontal next to horizontal. So I usually draw these in beforehand, or kind of like make a plan. But when I pick, like, this rock is kind of in this direction, so it makes sense to stitch it that way to me. If you don't feel the same way, then that's okay. You could do all of these the same direction if you wanted. I just like how it kind of separates the rocks by putting the stitches in different directions. So we're still satin stitching, we're just doing it in different directions. Oops. And then make sure, if you don't want gaps between your rocks, you make sure that your stitches are nice and close. Or even like these ones, I'm kind of pushing a little bit underneath the stitch next to it, or the stitch that it's going next to. So like up here, it's going like right underneath. Or they can like share the same hole. So we're gonna put that down in. Okay, and then we're gonna do the same thing for this one, except we're gonna go in another direction. And I'm just gonna share these holes with this first rock, so they're right next to each other. Or you could always go in and outline these if you want to. If you have some gaps that you're not loving, or you just think you'll like that look better, you could always go back in and outline these. I am not going to do that. But these ones I am gonna kind of put underneath this thread, so they look like they're laying on top of each other. New to embroidery. How can you keep your thumb from hurting? You don't. My thumb hurts a lot. I sometimes wear like a silicone thimble, but my thumb hurts a lot. I have a callus right here now because of where I pull my needle. But that's taken a long time. Every once in a while I get a callus that'll like rip open and then I have to like bandage it. But I don't know how to avoid that. That's part of the reason why I use a sharp needle, and because it's a little bit easier to push and pull through the fabric. And then using a looser weave, like using linen instead of cotton, that needle pulls through linen a little bit easier. This is linen, so it's a little bit of a looser weave. You can kind of see the weave on the fabric. But like cotton is a lot tighter weave, so it's going to be harder to pull your thread through that. I'm sorry, I don't have the best answer, except power through. I'll show you. I'll go grab myself. Let me finish this rock and I'll go grab my little thimble. I don't like the metal ones because I can't like use my fingers. Okay, hold on. So like this, and it just fits on my thumb. So if I'm doing like a lot of French knots or something, I'll use it. But it kind of just bugs me. So I don't use it very often. But then it comes in two. So like this is the middle finger, pointer finger or whatever. But I just got that at Hobby Lobby and I use it occasionally, but not super often because it kind of just bugs me. I feel like a rubbery type Band-Aid sometimes works better. I don't know if anyone else has some ideas. Throw them out in the comments. There's a few of us in here. But when I am like, right now things are kind of slow, so I'm not stitching like for hours every day. My fingers are less sore. But like around Christmas, my fingers are constantly sore. Okay, what time is it? 10:15 almost. Okay, I think I'm just gonna do this one more rock and then I'm gonna let you finish the rest of this on your own and we'll move on to chain stitch because I think you get the point with this. And I can finish it off camera so that we can move on to our next stitch. Yeah? Fun? Okay, let me tie this off real quick. Okay. All right. So now we're going to use our DMC 470, this nice bright green. And we're going to do some chain stitch over here. I don't remember if it's the top or the bottom. It's the bottom. Chain stitch, I think, is so fun for filling in a space. It kind of makes me think of like moss. Okay, so you can use all 6 strands, which is what I'm gonna do, or you can use less if you want it less bulky. But I like the bulky. So I'm gonna go with 6. But you could definitely use 3 or 4 if you would like. Okay, so what we're gonna do is work in chain stitch. And we want to start at the top so that we can keep this pattern. If we start at the bottom, then we're just gonna have like this kind of a shape, but we want this shape. So that's why I'm gonna start at the top. So I will show you chain stitch and then another day, let's see, do I have reverse chain stitch on here? I do not. I'll just show you reverse chain stitch also. I've realized, it's taken me a while, but I've realized I don't hate chain stitch as much as I thought. And I was not talking while I did that. I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. Let me talk you through what I just did. Hold on. Starting over. Sometimes I forget that I'm like teaching and not just showing. Okay, I have all kinds of things going on here. Ah. Okay. Okay, so with chain stitch, we start like always in the back and come forward. And we're gonna go up. Whoops, I forgot to tie a knot. If that hasn't happened to you, then you're pretty cool. Okay, so we are gonna go up and down in this same hole. Up and down in that same hole. And then we're gonna keep our loop open and we're gonna go up inside of it and keep these fairly small so that we can get that nice texture. And then we will pull this snug. So that creates our chain. Okay, so once we have that pulled snug, then the next part of the chain is we're gonna go down in that same hole that we just came up in, like we did in the beginning. And then we're gonna come up in that loop on our line and pull it snug. So that creates our chain. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go down in that same hole, keep our loop open, come up inside of it, and pull it snug. Okay, so we're just gonna do that all the way across. So what's nice with chain stitch is it's really nice on like a curved line. So it's nice for like lettering and outlining. It's got a really fun texture. And so it like can give a little bit of a wow to your pieces because it looks so fun. Now, if it doesn't go in the exact same hole that you came up in, it's okay. Like right next to it is fine. Just like that. And then when we get to the end, we're gonna go up on the inside of our loop, and then we're gonna go down on the other side of our loop. So just on the other side to just like tack that down. There we go, we have our first row. So then we're gonna go back this way and we're gonna do the same thing, but it'll be reversed because we're starting at this end. So our chains are gonna go the other way. So we're gonna do the same thing and we're gonna go down and up in the same spot. We're gonna keep our loop out here. And pull that snug. We just want to keep this close to the other chain so that we can keep that shape and so we don't have a bunch of gaps in our stitches. I think this is a great way to learn chain stitch because when you're pushing them up against each other like this and just like filling a space, it's okay if they are not all the same length. When you're doing like lettering and stuff, you want them all of your chains to be really uniformed so that they look, well, uniformed. But this way you can kind of practice doing a chain stitch without the stress of like all of these don't have to be the exact same length, but you can practice getting them to the same length without a lot of, like if they're not, it's not a big deal. Okay, last one. So we're gonna go up, pull it snug. I've got these extra threads down here, hold on. Okay, I'll get those in a second. And then we're just gonna go down on the other side of this and tack that down. I gotta get this extra string, hold on, it's gonna bug me. I've got all these extra threads. Okay. Oh, that did not get them. Okay, I'll mess with that later. Okay, so another way to do chain stitch is to do a reverse chain stitch. Hang on, I gotta let this untwist. This is really bugging me. I gotta trim these. Okay. So reverse chain stitch is similar, but you work backwards. So the way that this chain is laying is how the next row is gonna look. So if we so with a reverse chain stitch, you start one stitch in. So we're gonna start it here. And we're gonna go in and out of that same hole. And then we're gonna tack down the end. It's hard. If you want to try a reverse chain stitch, you should do it on your first one. Because now we're gonna weave. So we're gonna come up at our next stitch and we're gonna weave through this chain. And then we're gonna go down here. Okay, and then we're gonna come up on our next chain and we're gonna weave through this one and go back down. I like reverse chain stitch for lettering because I find it easier for me to get my chains more uniformed that way. But when you're filling space like this, it's harder because you're having to weave and you want to make sure you're not like snagging all these different threads that are around it. So I don't really love it for filling, but I do love it for lettering. I prefer it over regular chain stitch for lettering and stuff like that. I just find it easier and I feel like it looks cleaner. My stitches do anyways. I know everyone's gonna have different tension and stuff like that, but I am gonna do 2 reverse so that they're all going, because if I do a regular chain stitch the other way, then I'll have 3 chains going the same way. And I want them to be a little different to create some good texture. So not that this isn't doable, like obviously I'm fine weaving through here, but it's definitely takes a little bit more like concentration and stuff. So then when you're done, you're just done. You put your needle through the bottom and you're just done. You don't tack it down because you've already tacked down the front. So we're just gonna go down here and that's it. Okay, so I'm gonna do a reverse going this way and then I'll be back to, I'll just do my regular chain stitch. So we wanna start 1 stitch in, and out of that same hole, tack it down on the end. And we'll come back over here. Ooh, this direction's harder. And then back down. What do we think? Are we fans of chain stitch? It's one of my favorite stitches. And I just love that I can use it for like so many different things. You could actually, if you're doing, for you stitch portrait makers, you can use this for braids. It makes a nice braid. All right, got a couple more stitches. Let's see. My needle is stuck. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna do one more and then I'm gonna let you go. There. Okay. So I am going to finish up this little space and finish up the rock. And then I will post my story so you can see it finished. I'm gonna get this thread out of here also. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions. Tomorrow we will do French knots and colonial knots to fill the rest of our spaces here. And then we will start working on our plants. 8, 9, yeah. Okay. That is it for me today. So let me know if you have questions as you get working, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.